A very, very interesting week 7 all around the South. We're going to talk about that. Roll the footage. Welcome on in, welcome on in, welcome on into All Around the South, presented by the Cards Companion. I am Josh, joined as always by my fabulous friend James. James, how are you doing, man?
Going good. It's been a little bit of a chaotic weekend across the country.
Yes, it has, especially in the Southeast across the ACC and the SEC. We're gonna get in all that. It's looking like a couple of guys' fates were sealed this week, in my opinion. And yeah, so just to get right into it, you okay if we recap week 7 for the SEC first?
So the SEC, let's get into the topic of there's some criticism to be had. Pittsburgh dominated the first quarter and a half of that game at home against Georgia. I'm not going to be the person because I'm not paid the big bucks to be the one that makes that decision. In my opinion, though, it was a touchdown. After that touchdown was ruled a fumble, Georgia outgained Auburn 287-16 and just dominated the second half. That'd be the second or third time a game has been really decided on a referee call that honestly you could see SEC make a post apologizing to Auburn for the second time this season.
Yeah, I'd really like you hit on the officiating because it's been very clear throughout SEC play that the officiating is maybe a step back than what we're usually used to. Typically, like when you go through postseason and like grade the conferences based off of their officiating, the SEC is typically 2 or 3. And there's been a major drop off this season. In regards to the actual game itself, though, this is exactly what I wanted to see from Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
This is Georgia flexing their muscles and showing that, hey, we are still Georgia at the end of the day, and we can still go out and physically dominate you and beat you. It's unfortunate the situations that lead to that run up, I will agree. But yeah, Georgia, this is what I want to see. This is exactly what I wanted to see from them.
I also want to touch on as we're talking about officiating, there was a play in the fourth quarter on a third and 9 where Kirby Smart was trying to call a timeout. He ran up to the referee signaling timeout, and he no longer wanted the timeout.
Okay. I know people have accused me of being an Alabama homer for a very long time, and I'm not doing that here. I personally think Kirby was showing the official that, hey, the defense is clapping. That's what I think he was doing. And I've seen that floated by a couple of different Georgia people, and I've seen national media take it one way. I'm on Team Kirby for that one. I think he was showing that it was, hey, the defense is clapping during our sets.
Well, that's an example of the officiating drop off in the SEC.
It is.
Usually in the playoff, even the BCS, more often than not, it was an SEC officiating staff. This year, I don't think the SEC is a top 4 officiating conference this year.
I'm going to be completely honest with you. I don't know enough about it to make that sort of a judgment. When they get ranked at the end of the season, I'll look at it. But there definitely is a very clear drop off in the league this year. And like that's not even me saying. I feel like as like fans, we always say, "Oh, officiating is getting so awful." I think there's like comparing like watching like the Oregon Penn State game, comparing to watching the Oregon Indiana game, which wasn't called that well to begin with either. And then in comparison to that Georgia Auburn game, it was night and day.
Well, I think that's the issue. I don't want to just talk about officiating the whole game. Is that each conference, the officials call the game so different, so it's hard to know what be allowed and what's not.
Yeah, I agree. Moving down the list, though, we're just going to go all throughout the scoreboard. Ole Miss with a weird game against Washington State. They won 24-21. Trinidad kind of struggled. I know Lane called them out during halftime. That's not something you like to see at all, especially when we start feeling really good about Ole Miss going in here. But any real major thoughts on that one?
I think that's one of those games. It's a trap game. Ole Miss has a top 15 matchup next week. I think that could have been a factor. I think they might have been just overlooking a Washington State team that hasn't played great throughout the year. and the offense was kind of slow. The defense was able to limit the damage from the Wazoo offense. I think this is one of those games you really can't look too much into because it screams trap game for me.
I'll be honest with you, just because of the time slot, I didn't watch very much of this game.
Hmm.
I mean, because if we continued going on, we had Alabama, Missouri, which I'm going to go on this rant for a little bit. Again, not doing the Alabama homer thing. Alabama, they go down to Missouri, they win 27-24. And I will tell you what, I came away from this game, and I texted you this.
Hmm.
I came away from this game impressed with both teams so much. I'm more impressed with Missouri now, even that they lost, might I add.
Yeah.
Alabama, they find a way to get it done. Ty Simpson, he has to be the Heisman front runner at this point in time. I haven't looked at the betting markets, but that kid, he's playing.
I think
They get Jam.
I
What's
think
up?
right I think right now they got it a 3-person race between him, Mendoza, and Beck.
Okay, I could see it. They get Jam Miller going. I know Jam Miller got banged up in the second half. It looks like he's going to be good for next week against Tennessee. Then taking it over to the Missouri conversation, man, I feel bad saying this. They're one quarterback away from being a top 5 team. I mean, that team can run the ball like nobody else. And it's so crazy to me also because we go into this season, we're saying, oh, Notre Dame's got great backs. Louisville has great backs. Penn State has great backs. No one was mentioned in Missouri. And man, Missouri can flat out run the damn ball like nobody's business. I would not be surprised at all if Missouri goes throughout the season. They go 10-2. They split one with Texas A&M and Oklahoma and get a win, and they're in the college football playoff. And I'll be completely honest with you. I know this isn't me just saying this because this is a show centered around the SEC and the ACC. I know everyone's giving Indiana a lot of love right now for their impressive resume. Even though Alabama has one loss, I think they have the most impressive resume in the country at the moment.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. Alabama looked really impressive. Ty Simpson continues to improve week to week. And they were able to put 27 points in the game. That Ryan Williams had 0 catches against Missouri. Missouri's defense ability to take away the first option for the quarterback has been, you've seen that week in, week out. I think Missouri might have a top 10 defense nationally. Missouri, what holds them back is they have an inexperienced quarterback. That's the only thing I can say bad about him. It's inexperience where this is the first time he started in college. I think over time you're going to see him get better. He's a redshirt freshman transfer from Penn State. He's going to keep getting better. That Missouri team and Eli Drinkwitz is just going to keep improving. And that's a team that you're going to see in 3 to 4 years as a problem in the SEC.
No, I agree. I mean, that's a program that is majorly on the up and up. And like what you hit on, I know Perbula, he didn't play the best of games. You're seeing him get better in real time. You saw him get better, I feel like, throughout the game. If they can incorporate more of a short game into their offense, which is hard to do because you're such a run-heavy team, that is a dangerous ball team to watch out on. So, again, I know they lost, but I come away from this game extremely impressed with Missouri. Swapping around, though, we had the Red River Shootout, Oklahoma losing to Texas 6-23.
Okay, so I have a lot of comments about this game.
Okay, all right. I'm curious to hear.
Okay, so Matthias he is not 16, 19 days removed from surgery. A surgery that usually at the soonest is 30-day heal time. There was a play on the second drive of the game where he got hit, and all the skin, you saw blood all over his
Yeah,
pants.
bust his hand open.
You
Yeah.
quit, and I remember I looked to my brother and I asked, "How did he get cleared?" Because it ain't like it was as big of a hit. You could tell it was hindering the running game. He wasn't as able to be a dynamic player as he is. And Oklahoma's had issues with the big play all year. Most of their drives are those 10 to 12 play drives that are just going to kill the clock. And Texas was able to bear down with their 5-star defensive line and linebackers stunting at the point of contact. And they're able to constantly just make him uncomfortable.
Yeah, I mean, so I'll be honest. I don't think Mateer should have played in this game, and I feel like that's everyone kind of agrees with that because their offense looked awful. I mean, it just looked downright terrible. I'm going to be completely honest. In the first half, I was falling asleep. The game was not pretty in the first half at all. And then
And
Texas woke up.
he had 2 picks in the first half, and they were just balls he threw up that weren't even close to the receiver.
Yeah, I mean, he looked he looked like he was 25% ready to go. For Texas, man, I'm still questioning your offensive line. You are giving Arch no time at all. They're that's a situation that's gonna get you another loss on the season. Your offensive line play. I will say though, very impressed with Texas in the second half. Their defense really stepped it up, in my opinion. On the inverse, Texas's defense line in that second half was playing with their hair on fire. Their linebacker core was making plays left, right, and center. But at the end of the day, when I look at this game, I just keep asking myself, what does this game look like if Mateer is 100% healthy?
The factor that I think this game needs to be remembered for is the Texas defensive line and front seven. But on the offensive side of the ball, Texas' ability to be able to make explosive plays in the running game. There's a
Mhm.
couple drives that the running back was dead to rights. He was able to just bounce around and hit a hole for 30 yards. And Oklahoma's defense was good at getting the offense off the field. Texas didn't. I think they only scored 1 or maybe 2 touchdowns. But Texas' ability to make that big play, which Oklahoma's failed to do, was able to get points. And over time, that lead became bigger and bigger until the point it was 23-6 at the end.
Yeah, and the one last thing for Texas before we move on from this game I want to hit on as well is with their offense, you're seeing them play up to the strengths more of their wideouts. They have a very good wideout room. They have Wingo, they have DeAndre Moore, and they have Injuries at tight end. Injuries was by all accounts the number one tight end in the portal this past season. DeAndre Moore is a highly touted coming out of high school. He's played a lot as a young kid, and I mean, there's no reason to give the background on Wingo. That kid's a superstar. And you're seeing them more and more just telling those guys, hey, go out, get open. If
Mm-hmm.
Arch has the time, he's going to hit you. And that's what you wanted to see because it complements so well when the run game's going. So Texas, I feel a lot better about. I still think though, man, if they drop another game, that's a tough conversation to have with a 9-3 Texas team.
And an issue with a 9-3 Texas team is one of those losses there against a Florida team that showed signs that they may spiral, especially in that fourth quarter and a big game at A&M last night. A&M, don't get me wrong, is a top 5 team right now, but the issue was it wasn't. I take my takeaway from this game. It wasn't anything for A&M to do what they were. It was more Florida's ability to stall themselves.
Mm-hmm.
They had over 100 yards and penalties throughout 3 quarters of that game.
Well, and credit due, Elko's doing amazing things with their defense. Credit due to Texas A&M, but
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I do agree though. I think because I mean, you look at it, they gave up 14 points in the first quarter. After that, they gave up a field goal. Now, granted, like you're saying, Florida was just kept shooting themselves in the foot constantly, but a little credit is due there to A&M. Moving around though, I think we only had 2 more games. Yeah, we do. Not going to spend a whole lot of time on this one. Arkansas, Tennessee. Tennessee gets the win. That was a fun game to watch. That was a fun game to watch, man. Bobby Petrino has Arkansas in a decent spot, I feel like. Better than what I anticipated. Tennessee, I got some questions for you guys.
Well, my takeaway from this game is we've had questions about Tennessee's defense all year. I don't think it's been as highlighted from when Mississippi State was able to run the ball for over 200 yards against them. You walk away from both of these games questioning both defensive staffs because I think this might be the 4th time in 6 games that Tennessee's allowed over 30 points. Arkansas's had another issue where they kind of came out of the halves cold. It was 17-17 at half, and you saw them have to make kind of a marathon run toward the end to try to catch Tennessee as they had a rough start to the third quarter. Um, compared to how it has been, though, Arkansas was able to respond a lot better than they have in weeks prior. But Tennessee,
To give Arkansas's defensive staff a little credit, though, a lot of those guys are interim guys also.
yeah,
Because Bobby kind of cleaned house, I think, 2 weeks ago.
he did fire everybody, didn't he? Like, there's improvements with Arkansas. I think if this game was 3 weeks ago, Arkansas loses this game by 3 touchdowns. I think you saw a
Oh,
lot of
100%.
resistance in this roster, and I think
Yeah.
as the year goes on, you're gonna progressively see Arkansas get better and better.
They're gonna sneak up and they're gonna beat somebody. That's my one really hot take. They're gonna beat somebody. Final game though, really not very much to talk about again. South Carolina goes down to Death Valley. They lose 10-20 to LSU. Another really kind of boring game.
This is another game where you take away LSU has turnover issues. Garrett
Yeah.
Nussmeier threw another 2 interceptions in this game. He's had issues with turnovers all year long. I think he's nearing his interception total for last season already.
Mhm.
Um, and if LSU doesn't clean this up, they're going to drop 2 or 3 more games because their back half of their schedule is a lot rougher than the front.
Yeah. No. Other than that, anything else? I mean, really to hit on from the SEC perspective for the rest of the season or for the rest of this past week?
Not this week. We got a big week next week, though.
Oh yeah, yeah. Which we'll get into that. Let's talk about the ACC though. Here, week 7, and what I said was going to be a boring week turned out to not be boring at noon on Saturday. I
So,
did not want to talk about that game, and you were the one that brought it up. So I want to give you kudos on that because I didn't think it was going to be that much of a game.
so the whole reason I want to talk about it is I'm fully in on that freshman quarterback for Pittsburgh. They got a ball player, and
And
Desmond.
before we go any further, we're talking about the Pittsburgh. They go down to Tallahassee. They win 34-31. Sorry, just wanted to throw that out.
I was about to rate the way they used Desmond Reed was kind of different than what I expected. He wasn't as explosive in the running game. They kind of used Turner more for the running. But Desmond Reed's ability to come out of his route and just make plays in the open field. He had 8 receptions for over 100 yards through 3.5 quarters. He got hurt at the beginning of the fourth quarter, so he missed half of the fourth quarter. But the story of this game was it was 24-24 with 11 minutes to go. And in the last 4 drives, outside of that last drive of Florida State where they scored with 1:30 left, they were able to cause a fumble and 3-and-outs Pittsburgh's defense was. And
Mhm.
Florida State was not able to protect Thomas Castellanos.
Yeah, so with Pittsburgh, man, I think that offense is dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
With Heinstuhl, I think that's how you say his last name, Heinstuhl. I'm going to go with that pronunciation. I don't know. I'm not very good on my German. With Heinstuhl and Reed, that offense is dangerous. And I think really for Pittsburgh, after the Louisville game, a lot of people were doubting Narduzzi. There
Mm-hmm.
was a lot of calls that, hey, this might be the next guy on the chopping block. And now you're going to look at this season and you're going to say, man, why did we not bench Holstein after the West Virginia game? Because that Louisville loss can go back to hit you. Pittsburgh, though, dude, they look on the up and up. I think right now, the way they're playing, they're a top 6 team in the ACC. They are a scary team. Florida State on the inverse, they're looking worse every single week. And Castellanos is looking worse every single week.
I forgot if I told it was you or Brad that I texted this. Florida State, if you just look at their schedule, they look better than what they actually have been. They were down 28-3 against Miami, and Miami called the dogs off, and they came back and made it look prettier at the end. Pittsburgh was just trying to defend the run, and Pittsburgh was up 10 points for a majority of the second half of that fourth quarter. And Pittsburgh outscored Florida State by over 20 points in that second half. They've been dominated for 2 to 3 quarters the last 2 weeks. And you can also add the Virginia game because Virginia dominated them for a quarter and a half in that first half. And they really dominated that fourth quarter.
And then, I mean, what's going to go to this conversation, it was going to get brought up no matter what. Is Mike Norvell on serious firing?
I think it's similar to the Pittman story because you question how much of this, the offensive issues in like the second half is Norvell. And you hire a guy that's a proven head coach commodity in Gus Malzahn. It's a little easier for the administration to decide to move on when they know they already have a guy on staff they can make the interim.
Yeah, I'll be completely honest with you. Florida State has lost 8 consecutive ACC games now. It looks like they're getting worse. I'm not saying they're going to be 2-10 bad again. That is a once in a generation thing for a program like Florida State. But I think he seriously is on firing watch. What makes it difficult is how large his buyout is.
It's been over 385 days since Florida State has won an ACC game. That one time in 20 years they had only lost 7.
And I mean, I don't mean to go down this road with the conversation, but I look at Florida State's football program as a whole over the past 2 years. This would upset Florida State people, and I'm even going to bring this up. Florida State spent over $50 million on their lawsuit against the ACC. They're still making ACC money. They're not making SEC money right now. I know the donor power is strong down in Tallahassee, but you just spent that much on your buyout or on your lawsuit that I guess you kind of won. And now you're looking at a potential $40 million plus buyout alone. And then you're going to have to go out and spend $10 million on another coach along with NIL. You know what I'm saying? Like we're getting into the $100 million category really quick for the span of 24 months of Florida State football. There's not a lot of programs that can do that. There's maybe only 2 or 3 that can realistically do that.
And I don't want to just rant before I say too much, but the issue is how quickly all this happened. Going into last year, Nick Saban went on national television and talked about how he thought Florida State had a national championship roster. Ever since that day, as a team, they're 5-15 as a 5-15 and 0-11 in the ACC play.
Yeah, and I mean, what the craziest part that's going to get brought up in this conversation is the fact that they somehow beat what I would argue is the hottest team in college football. They beat Alabama, and that doesn't go on deaf ears. That's even under Kalen DeBoer, that's a Herculean task for 90% of college football. It's just it's a weird situation all around, and I don't know if he gets fired. I really don't know, because that money situation is a tough situation to overcome. But hats off to Pittsburgh though. They are firing on all cylinders right now. Continue to bounce around though. Virginia Tech loses to Georgia Tech 35-20. I don't really have very many thoughts on this game, to be completely honest with you. Sounds about right.
Yeah, Virginia Tech's getting better, into their credit.
They are.
Georgia Tech, they played their game, and Virginia Tech are just not able to really contest the way that Georgia Tech wants to use Haynes King right now. I'm still not fully bought in on Georgia Tech. I know the polls have them in top 10, top 13. Yeah, I just don't think that's going to be too sustainable as you get in the back half of the schedule. Full credit to them. First time they're 7-0 since I think 2013.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's an impressive task no matter what. Brent Key's doing a heck of a job down there. He's building a real program. 100%. It's crazy. Those Saban proteges, they're typically pretty good with their job. Continuing to go on, North Carolina State, they go on the road to Notre Dame. They lose 7-36. The one thing I'll point out about this game, this was a close ball game. Way too close for comfort for a little while there for Notre Dame.
That's how Notre Dame's been all year, though. They'll play down to their opponent. I don't want to say play down, but Notre Dame's a top 15 roster on paper. NC State's just not. But their offense has the ability, with all the star power they have, to just explode any given moment.
Yeah. Continuing to bounce around though, Stanford, they lose to SMU 34-10. That game was a 11 a.m. kickoff blackout down in Dallas on the CW. I'm going to be completely honest with you about something. I came away from this game very concerned about SMU.
Oh, I'm right with you. I've been concerned about SMU for a lot. It became more so hoping that Missouri State was just like a cautionary tale, but it's repetitive issues that you're seeing week in and week out.
I mean, they look like an undisciplined team. I know that they are really, really struggling on the line of scrimmage. I mean, I saw Stanford, and no disrespect to Stanford here. We're talking honest here. Stanford is a bottom 5 Power 5 roster. They're not that good. And to see the struggles that you had, especially on the offensive line, is very, very concerning to me. SMU, they got to figure it out here, man. Because you got Miami coming up, and then you got Louisville right after that.
Mm-hmm.
And then for Stanford, I mean, there's only so much you can say with the state of the program. And that's not me attempting to sound disrespectful at all either.
The optimistic thing about Stanford is they're going to be getting money, but the thing about Stanford, it's hard for me to be able to see them being able to improve too much with the academic factor. And I hate
Yeah,
to
I
say
know
that.
it's true though. I mean, they just if you haven't been following the news, Stanford just announced this past week that they got a $50 million injection of NIL money into their football program specifically over the next 10 years. And I'm the same way with you. There's only so much with that you can do
Mm-hmm.
for a program like Stanford, at least.
The academic, the GPA and the testing requirements that Stanford requires, there's just so many athletes that can meet that standard. So you're going to miss on guys that may be interested in your coach and your general manager just because they don't meet those standards.
Well, yeah, and then another thing for Stanford that I like to point out, we've seen, I would say the Stanford drop off has happened consistently over the past 10 years, realistically. And in that 10-year span, what we've seen is it's not only SC and UCLA and Oregon and Washington and Arizona State, Colorado. It's not only those schools recruiting the West Coast hard and heavy and Texas anymore. You're seeing programs like Georgia, Alabama, Florida, Clemson, Louisville, even programs of that nature like Louisville going out west and finding guys and taking them away. So there's something has to give there with Stanford. You know, it's a tough situation all around. But I think there's one situation worse in college football and worse in the ACC right now, and that's Wake Forest beating Oregon State 39-14. And I say that Wake Forest, they're 4-2 on the year. They just got the big win. Respect it, love it. It does not look like a good roster.
No, and touch on this because it happens on a weekly show. Right before we recorded, Oregon State fired their coach after this loss
Yes.
against Wake Forest. So that's a program in disarray. I think they're 0-6 now. The Oregon State team is
0-7.
0-7 after they paid
0-7.
After they paid $4 million to Malik Murphy. Wake Forest is a team, as we saw, their ceiling is a pretty good. It's top 8. You saw how good that offense can be when they're able to get the running game involved against Georgia Tech. The only issue is they've really failed to consistently be able to run the ball. Their defense just is not good, not up to the standard of a top 5 team in the ACC. They're a team that's going to have to rely heavily on time of possession, and you question if their ability to be able to do that consistently.
Yeah, and the reason I made the comment about Wake Forest with them being a bad spot is everything we just said about Stanford is also true of Wake Forest for academic requirements. The issue with Wake Forest is they ain't got the money and they don't have the prestige that a university like Stanford has. It's a difficult situation any way you look at it.
Mm-hmm.
But they're 4-2. They are beating the outlook on the season right now. Hopefully that can maintain a little bit of positive mobility. They're trying to get to 6, and I think they could maybe find 2 more here. They can maybe. The ACC is a weird league right now. Final game to talk about from week 7, Clemson, Boston College. Clemson wins 41-10, and there was a lot of questions about this Clemson offense 2 weeks ago. And Clemson has now put up back-to-back high-scoring performances.
Okay, so
at the same time,
yeah,
I think Bill O'Brien could be fired any moment now.
I think there's 2 sides to this. I think Boston College has gotten progressively worse week to week throughout the year, and I think Clemson fans should be cautiously optimistic because yes, your offense has performed better the last 2 weeks. You've also played 2 out of the 3 worst teams in the ACC defensively. Statistically, both teams rank below the 100th spot nationally on defensive side of the football. You're still not running the ball well. That's going to come back about you against some of the better defenses you will play. Cade Klubnik, he's improving. He's not turning the ball over at as high of a rate as he was. I think you still have the same questions about this Clemson offense as before, because you're a UNC defense that allowed 40 plus against TCU and allowed UCF, a team that Cincinnati held to 11 points this past weekend, to be able to really dominate them on the offensive side of the ball. And Boston College, I just don't know what's going on up there.
Yeah. Anything else though from Week 7 for the ACC or the SEC?
Shout out to teams like Pittsburgh. Really, after that Louisville game, you could have folded it in, and that season could have been a wash. You were able to fix the issues, and now you have a realistic chance to sneak into the conference championship. With the way you're playing, you're as good of an offense as there is in the conference right now. Whenever you get all those running backs and that young quarterback going.
All right, James, anything to leave off on from Week 7 in your opinion?
I just want to give a further shout out to Pittsburgh. As long as that offense is able to continuously improve under their freshman quarterback and they're able to keep Desmond Reed healthy, they have a real shot at making some noise and getting into a quality bowl at the end of the year.
Yeah, my big thing is just very impressed with Missouri, very impressed with Alabama, very, very impressed with Pittsburgh. Looking forward, though, to Week 8, we'll start in the ACC. Kind of a sneaky good week for the league, in my opinion. First game, we're going to start off with the Friday night game. Louisville traveling to Miami. Miami, number 2 team in the country. I believe they are a 13.5-point favorite in that one.
This game, I think this is going to be closer than 13.5 points. I do. I think you get Sylvester back in all offensive line. I'm not going to touch too much in this game, by the way, because we got our preview game.
The normal thing, yeah. Check out the other video.
I think this game's going to fully come down to Louisville's ability to get the running game involved early. If you're able to make Miami not be able to pin their ears back and make Miller get off his back foot and actually take time, Louisville's chances drastically go up. And I think you'll see the offensive line play better. This is a sneaky good game, though. It's probably Miami's most challenging ACC game they got in the rest of their schedule.
I agree. Not going to hit too much on it. I think Miami is a very, very good team. I think they have a very, very good defense. And I think Louisville's really going to struggle to move the ball against Miami. At the same time, Louisville right now, we're sitting around looking, man, they got a top 15 defense. This genuinely might be the best defense Miami plays all season from a statistical standpoint. I think Louisville has the opportunity to make this game kind of dirty, kind of nasty. I'm taking the under in this game, to be honest with you. And I think it's a chance for Louisville to get really back into the conference championship race, and it's a chance for Miami really to kind of just seal their way into the conference championship.
Here's my bold statement for this game. This game will not be won by whose defense is better and whose offense is better, because I think both offenses have shown the ability, even in spots, to be able to be explosive. But both defenses are so good, it's going to minimize the offensive ability. I think that plays in the Louisville's hands a little bit and helping them be able to beat the spread in this game. I think it's really going to come down to the special team side of the ball and who's able to control the field position game.
I get that. Personally, me, man, I'm taking the Canes on this one, and I'm taking them by 2 scores. But it's gonna be a nasty game.
I think I'll say my prediction later, but I have Louisville covering this game. I think it comes down to the kickers. I think there's gonna be a couple kicks on both sides. It's just gonna be situational football.
Continue to move around. The other game I really wanted to hit on. Oh, there's 2 more games in the ACC I want to hit on. Georgia Tech traveling to Duke. That is a sneaky good game, and that is a trap game for Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech has shown issues on the defense, and guess what, brother? Duke has probably one of the 10 best quarterbacks in the country. They have a dynamic passing game.
Duke has came a long way since that Tulane loss. They like to sling that ball. Georgia Tech has a bottom half. I hate to say this about a team that is a top half team, but the weakness of that team definitely is the defense, and that secondary has shown signs of being atrocious this year. And I think Duke's going to take advantage of that early and often. With that being said, I believe the best part of the Duke defense is their edge, and I think that plays right into the hands of Haynes King, who loves to run right up inside in between the tackles. I think Haynes King runs for over 100 yards again this game. Honestly, this game might come down to who has the ball last.
Yeah. And then, in my opinion, the most competitive game in the conference this week, SMU traveling to Death Valley. Ponies on the road at Clemson. I have not seen any betting odds go out for that one yet. But this is a major test for both of these programs. Clemson has found the ability to feast on bad defenses, and SMU does not have the best defense in the world, but it is definitely a major step up from Boston College. On the flip side, I don't think that Clemson has seen an offense like SMU's yet. Yes, they played LSU, but it's a much different style of an offense. And this is a real opportunity for SMU to get right back into the conference race and to kind of gain a little bit more of national respect.
So this game's a game where I feel like this is going to define both of these teams' seasons, because both of these teams are in a situation where if they lose, their chances of the ACC championship are pretty much done. You'd have Clemson that had 4 losses. You'd have SMU. I think they've only got 1 loss in the schedule, maybe 2.
No, this would be their third loss, their first conference loss.
Yeah. So I think this would put both teams in a situation where at this point they're just trying to mitigate damage after this. And Dabo Swinney would be 3-4, and his only wins in conference would have been 2 of the bottom 4 teams in the conference. I think Clemson wins this game, just because of how bad the passing defense has been for SMU this year. You saw Baylor throw for over 400 yards against them, and SMU's inability to keep drives going. They have had an issue with drive stalling throughout the year. And I feel like they're over reliant on Kevin Jennings, and they don't give him enough time in their pocket. And their running game's not as explosive as it was a year ago.
I could see it. I could see it. Really, though, 2 of the top half ACC teams are going to get eliminated. Potentially, 2 top half ACC teams are going to get eliminated from the conference championship this weekend, though, between the SMU Clemson game and that Louisville Miami game. Miami's not eliminated outright, but Louisville is definitely eliminated with a loss. And I would venture to say whoever loses that Clemson SMU game is eliminated. Other than that, though, conference is just kind of do the conference thing. BC has UConn, North Carolina Cal, Pittsburgh, Syracuse, and Florida State Stanford. So not all that great outside of those games. Moving on over, though, to the SEC. And, brother, we got big week in the SEC this week. Big week. A lot of really good football to be played. We'll start it off, though. LSU traveling to Vandy. This is a scary one for the Tigers.
This is Vandy's first game since Alabama, right?
Yeah.
So Vandy's going to have something to prove. People don't see Vandy and think they are going to have a bad defense. That Vandy team loaded up on the portal the past 2 years on defense side of the ball. Alabama put up 30 on them, but that secondary is a problem, and LSU showed issues with turnovers this year and through the air. Do not be shocked if you flip over the screen if Vanderbilt's up 2 touchdowns in the 4th quarter.
And what's worrisome for me is you have a pissed off Diego Pavia playing over on that Vanderbilt side of the ball. This is one of those games. I think LSU wins, but this is a dangerous game for the Tigers because I have a feeling that this game would outright take LSU out of the SEC title game conversation if they lose.
You see, I'm on the other side of this with you. I'm taking Vanderbilt. I think Vanderbilt wins by over 10 points.
Okay. Interesting. We will see.
It's going to come down to LSU's inability to finish drives, and Nussmeier, it's the mental. I think it's a mental barrier that he's making himself throw it into situations he knows he aren't there, and it's allowing opportunities for the other team.
Well, the one thing I will say is Vanderbilt, they impressed me against Ty Simpson. Ty Simpson is a phenomenal quarterback, but they stopped him more than I thought they were going to stop him.
Mm-hmm.
And if they can do that against Garrett Nussmeier, you're cooking with some magic here for the Doors. Continuing on down the line, though, we have College Game Day going to Athens, GA. Ole Miss on the road at Georgia. This is a very interesting game. I didn't think it was going to be that interesting 2 weeks ago. This game got a lot more interesting. I think Georgia's kind of found their stride. They got their swagger back. Ole Miss, Trinidad did not play good against Washington State. The defense didn't play that good against Washington State. Yes, Ole Miss, they're on the fast track right now for the SEC title game. Honestly, I feel like if they win this game, they're pretty much a shoo-in because they don't have much on the schedule outside of this, inside the conference. At the same time, Georgia's still trying to fight for that life. If they lose, I don't see them making the title game with 2 losses here. It's going to be a raucous environment in between the hedges. I got to take Georgia here.
So, I don't want to sound overly critical, but Ole Miss, we've been high on them since the LSU game.
Yep.
LSU's looked worse. Here's the thing: when you actually look at the season as a whole, Ole Miss hasn't looked great. Let's be honest; they struggled in Kroger Field against Kentucky. They had turnover issues. They struggled against Wazoo, 2 teams that both are going to be fighting to win 4 to 5 games this year. Outside of the LSU game, they really haven't wowed me at any point. Like, they've looked impressive in moments, but not. They haven't think they've played a full 60 minutes yet. That Georgia team and their front 7 alone's ability to get pressure, I think, is going to make Simmons or Trinidad, whoever plays, very uncomfortable at a very early point. I think it's going to mitigate the offensive issues that Georgia has. I think Georgia wins this game. I think this is a game where in the fourth quarter, they're just running the clock out.
Yeah, the one thing I'll say is Ole Miss has really struggled against physical teams.
Mm.
And Georgia is just a much better version of Kentucky.
Mm-hmm.
They can throw the ball because Kentucky can't throw the ball. But I mean, and that's no disrespect to LSU, but Georgia's just a different built roster than what you see at LSU. And I do think, man, they're going to wear them down. And I'm kind of with you. I think they could be running out the clock in the fourth quarter. Continuing to move around, though, everyone called rivalry week last week. Did you notice that? All the ESPN branded, it's rivalry week in the SEC because we have not even a real SEC rivalry in the Red River Shootout. We have the Deep South Souls rivalry. It's rivalry. No, this is a traditional SEC rivalry. The 3rd Saturday in October. Tennessee heading on down to Tuscaloosa, Alabama. And brother, I think Alabama wins by 21 points.
Listen, I think we've all been Tennessee's kind of been rode the back of the fact that they had Georgia beat and they beat themselves. Ever since then, all they've done really is expose themselves for having a really bad defense. Their offense is good. Like, I think Aguilar, it fits what Heupel wants to do. With that being said, I think they're going to have issue keeping drives going in this game. They're not going to be able to run the ball at will. The secondary is just more skilled and better coached than the wide receivers are at Tennessee. I think Alabama wins this game. I'm right with you by 20-plus points. I think you might see Kalen Russell in the second half.
I just think Alabama right now, I think genuinely, I said it at the top of the show, I think they're the hottest team in the country. You put this looks like a very clear mismatch for Tennessee. Ty Simpson's playing out of his mind right now. Tennessee's really struggled in the pass game or pass protection game or pass defense game. And I think this one could get really, really ugly really quickly.
Not to mention that Alabama has a bunch of seniors on that roster that still remember that game from last year in Neyland.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's gonna be a fun one. Outside of that, though, any other games you really want to talk about in the conference? I know, I mean, it's a good slate, but those are really the marquee games, in my opinion.
I think those are the main ones. I think that would be it. Touch on for the ACC and
Yeah.
SEC.
All right. Well, James, as always, it's a pleasure. Uh, that was a fun week. That was a fun week. We're gonna have even more fun weeks. And I think this week's gonna be pretty fun. Really, really interesting week. I think this week is kind of when you really start to shed the contenders from the pretenders.
Mhm.
Because I think honestly, at this point in time, between both conferences, I don't see an X and 2 team getting in the way that the schedules are lining up.